Greetings and salutations, live from Europa. I'll be your host today, DeyZan Smith, Johnson 13. How you doing? I was streaming earlier, and then of course, between YouTube, internet, and battery, they wasn't having it. But I'm back, bigger, more sure. Something than ever. Let me share my link real quick. Hold on. Shout to the brother Raw Tunes Squad. Ascending E. We're back in here. Let me get some likes from the video. Part 2, part 3. Holla at your boy. Where my lighter at? I feel like I'm trying to do 2 or 3 things at once. Don't know what all fucking Mountain Dew. Haven't had that in a minute. Hold up. Whatever happened to Pauly Shore? Anyway, yeah. What the hell was I talking about last time? Just an hour or 2 ago. Oh, so I found out where our grandmothers stay and why that's important. I had to go pick up some markers. He donated me some markers. I'm about to open them. Just trying to figure out what type of chart I could draw. I'm behind about 100 of them, but the Uber driver, he saw the feathers that I was wearing at the time, and I started telling him about, like, well, is that a thing? I was like, nope. I wish it was fashion. No, it's my ancestors. You know, John Smith and King James. Like, oh, da da. It's like, yeah, you know, like Pocahontas, Rebecca, Gabriel, yeah, them people. Yeah, it's a crazy story. I mean, kind of like a Native American thing. I was like, well, technically, we're talking about the royals. And it's interesting. He let me cook too. He kept asking questions about it. Like, blew his fucking mind. Little Tesla driver. He was like, when I go, what should I research? Tartaria. Because you know, trying to catch up to where I'm at with this shit, they ain't going to nobody. They ain't got time to even work about it, but that's bullshit right here. And that's going to be very interesting for videos to listen to in the background. Then, you know, look around all these terracotta roofs. Eventually, hopefully, it click on them. He even said something about something Japanese. I was like, we almost there. On Dwayne drawing in Japanese, we are almost there. DeyZan design. Oh my God, we are almost there. We are almost there. Japanese language had nothing to do with a map. We are almost there. we are. They had emperors too, didn't they? We are almost there. I promise you, we're almost there. That shit was cool. I was like, damn, I want to fucking wake up Vegas while I'm out here talking that dumb Tartarian shit. Obviously, in the middle of a desolate old Tartarian something. Yeah, buddy. Gotta wake up the spirits and the ancestors here, I guess. Words, frequencies. So yeah, it's happening. If I'd even inquired. I don't know what he was. Muslim, Latino, something mixed. They all mixed up here. What anybody is, but they over there. And they're the only ones that really ask me questions like that, actually. Now I think about it. I wear feathers. It's very interesting. Please come again. Chiefs, sheriffs, Shakespeare's. Them guys, they would have feathers. Shakespeare wrote a whole bunch of stories in English. Could you fucking imagine it? And they're like, they can't even prove if Shakespeare lived. I know that's right. I know that's right. Who said it was written by a boy? Let alone one of them. Boy, writing's for girls, so they don't get the fuck out my face. We are somewhere flying around, shooting arrows and giants and shit. We ain't got time to be creating fucking Tyler Perry novels. Shout out to Shogun L. Oh snap. TBFB, so to you. Let me spell that right. I think I got it right. TBFB 13. Shout out to the brother. He sent me the dry erase marker special. Let's see what's going on. I hope this. Let me try to erase some shit first. Hold on. Previously on Dragon Ball Z. You out of touch, out of love. What the Ninja Gaiden is going on? Let's do it. JPX in the building. How you doing, man? Keep the swords fighting. Oh shit. Oh, we lit. Oh, we lit. We got dry erase madness. Oh, snap. They even got black and brown dry erase markers. Can you imagine shit? I don't know which color I want to use for algebra though. Hold on. Green, obviously. Trick question. Venetian. Shout out to the brother. BFBD. How do I say that correctly? Fuck. Because they all the same letter in my damn crazy head. TBFB. Shout out to you. Appreciate you. Oh, shit. Really. You know, fundamentally, I have to figure out what the hell does that mean. I have markers again. Plenty of them. Different flavors and varieties. What does that mean to the meta of whatever the hell's going on down there? What do they want me to figure out again? They don't tell you nothing down here, boy. You just gotta raw dog it till they be like, What shows up good on cameras? Arms. Let's try it. Let's do it. Do it till you're satisfied. Whatever it is, do it till you're satisfied. They vanished for Black Elk Slayer. How you doing, man? Can you play my song? What are you doing about? Who are you? I don't know. I know who I am. I'm Heinz 57. Yes, I am. That I am. Foley. Sorry. That's all it is. That's all it is. That's all it is. That's all it is. That's who I am. Ivan Khan's kids. I just happen to be Ivan Khan 3. Same story. So, all it is, Germans. What was it? Something like Alamy before? I know they say like almanac. You got that out of there. Alma. But the word is Al, like Al Kim, like Egypt. Don't So the chemistry is the science of chem. I know that's right. I know that's right. Stop fucking playing with us. History, the study of the science of the Egyptians. I know that's right, because that's what chems are. Yeah, straight out of Egypt, right where I stand, actually. So I don't understand anything. Then you get Hakupta, same fucking story, all over again. If there's ever a God in any of their stories. That's why it's always Sagittarius. Anyway, Syrian mystery schools. Cyrus. It's probably gonna be wise. Well, whatever. But don't forget who his mother is. Then you got this one. That's a different syllable there, but you can sell Foley if you wanted to. However you want to do. Counties. Because what they gonna tell me, that the Germans came from the Vikings, right? The ones with Allah on their breastplates? Alright. If you want to. You can have it if you want to. And then eventually, you just get English. That's what the holy part is. Everybody ain't holy around us. Hence, that's North America. Mm-hmm. Yep. That is America. Quite literally. Even to this day. Did YouTube hit me with the buffer danger? YouTube tried to hit me with the buffer danger. They hit when I be cooking, boy. But yeah, we should be back. Shout out to Taryn Art, back. But Struggle White Girl streams got no issues. That's funny. It'd be like that. It'd be like that. You're right. They don't be having no issues. Tough. Tough. Jonathan L. Harut, TBFB. Taryn Art, we back. Squad. Shout out to the bro again. These are shuttle arts. I think they're for art and drawing. I might fuck around and do some fucking whiteboard pixel art. The fuck? Take a picture of it and post it in my stories. Content creation part 3. But nah, I think everybody know this already. This stuff is, that's what happens when the angels start whispering to you. You start looking at words differently. You're like, the fuck is going on there? They told you in the damn Matrix. But that's how we know we didn't write that shit. It'd be just like that, actually. That shit'll spin, non-visually. For me, at least. I don't see it like the Matrix. I understand how the Matrix is trying to make it seem. Like that's a better way of describing it. Yeah, it's like letters in different forms and columns just moving around. But they mean something. They're not just doing it for like an acid trip. They're like, nah, it's corrective. Math is corrective. Correction. The problem with men, I guess, or masculinity or leadership is that we lack corrective measures. We're not as good as the Masons as we used to be, I guess. Yeah, I know. But, we'll get the math back. Math come back, language come back, science come back. Start noticing shit, science go further. That's it. So everyone else will start to understand it, and they'll start noticing it in their matrix and where that truth is going to take them. And then this person, they'll wake up and look at the ocean, and that truth will take them somewhere underwater. Like, it's like, or a rollback, if you will. It's like it's like defragmenting your worldview. All your base are belong to us. Mm-hmm. Can't wait till I get Wi-Fi back here. I'm gonna double check on that tonight, actually. Maybe I'll have it tomorrow, Lord willing. But because I would just showed you on YouTube or something. But there's another way of visualizing this. Give me a second. I need to smoke. Hold on. Hold the fuck on. Because I was just outside in the wild with a lot of people, y'all. I didn't even start talking about what I saw outside when I went to the Amazon locker. And then I stopped at the grocery store for a couple of rations to feed the other brother. He's more older and I don't know what to call it. Some form of crazy. But I can deal with it. So always make sure he eats. And anyway, my new job, I guess. My new, it's interesting to have to be in charge of adults. To some, like, it'd be different if I was a dad with kids or a dad who ever had kids. Even without that deranged occasion or experience, I still find myself in the exact same position, no matter what. Like, whether I had kids or not, it just doesn't know. You're gonna have to be the responsible one no matter what. No matter what job it is, it doesn't matter, it's you. Whatever music thing it is, nope, it's you. That's that big brother shit, boy. We cannot drop that if we wanted to. How the fuck I have a big brother spirit as a single child? Until much later. So I was raising everyone else's goddamn kids, wasn't I? Mm-hmm. The babysitters had me. I had their kids. Totally different story. Totally different story. Now I do it for adults to some extent. That's how I know this shit is extra serious. I know the average age in which adults, especially men, check out of this shit. It ain't that much time left. Mm-hmm. They live in a totally different parallel version of reality after a certain age. Like, I thank God for YouTube and be able to do these videos to make me intentionally think about it so that doesn't become me. But what I sense happens is, like, it's happening now again, but that means it's also happening again to them. They get to a certain age and the world is just the way it is in terms of their psychology, their worldview psychology. It just stays the same. Although everything changes, you know, the internet, typing, telephones, whatever. Then they'll hybridize and put the tools in their hand and they still live it through different eyes. It's like they don't talk or make content, but best believe they're watching everything for some strange reason. But they're older, so they can. But they get to a certain point in society where you'd be like, the issues, right? Like voting, money, taxes, the things you're told about. Mind you, they're older than us, different Board of Education. And then just their life experience with friends, connections for 20 plus, 30 plus years they've ever did business. And you'll notice real quick, like that version of reality now in 2025 doesn't exist for them no more. Like a lot of these people just can't go outside and be like, do a business move. And I'm talking about local business, not corporate. Like they can't just, you know what I'm saying? Like what'll end up happening is they'll faction off and get around people in their age group commonalities. And the only thing that brings them together in that world, alcohol or drugs. Because yeah, think about it. That generation, right after World War II, this is the first time you ever see people like this in human history. Just like we're the first type of people you ever see like us in human history. Dumb as hell, goofy as hell. But they don't have an alternative to wife, kids, house, family. Anything not that is failure. One more time, let's run that shit back. That paradigm of independent women and feminism is uniquely very womanitarian. So previously on X-Men, before that entered your school in the 2000s, back in the 80s and prior, let's take it back to Bob Proctor in the 60s and 70s. Those people, whole objective for why they went hard in the paint, blue collar, hire or nah, so that they can have a house and have a family. It wasn't even an option on the table to do anything else. Because if you didn't, you're one of those, you're bum, you broke, you ain't doing nothing with your life. That's where that program comes from. Very heavy handed. on the backdrop of half your grandfathers are dead because of some made up fucking white person war with other white people. Everyone want to look at it that way, but I'm telling you, as one of us, like, we would have to. Like, dang, your shit ain't got nothing to do with us, so why my daddy gone? Remember Martin Luther King went back. His dad went over to Germany during the Olympics or whatever, and they came back and changed their names from Scott to Luther King, after traveling to Germany. We were talking about Southern Baptist black people. What do you think they saw there for real? All right then. Tell them stop fucking playing with us. So the Scots, by the way, like Dred Scott, don't miss this shit. So boom, boom, boom. Mm-hmm. Scots out of Georgia would be very Dred Scott if you ask me. Scotia, Nova Scotia, Canadians, Boston Tea Party, French Indian Wars, and they end up down south near Georgiana, Louisiana, when that was all the same penal colony, which is why Dred Scott was like, I'd rather be a citizen. Prisoners of war taking deals to get out. 360. Come on now. Easy. This easy, boy. I swear to God, it's easy. I swear to God, it's easy. If they would have taught us anything, that is. Jesus Christ. This is not even a whole fucking full semester of common sense. They fucked around way too much. Good. So these older people, older than me, generation-wise, like the next generation, cooked, bro. They're never checking back into this game. The ones that barely made it alive, aka they still married and their wife is alive. Wow. I never want to get married if it turns into that. Social dynamic, just a social dynamic. Most of the time you see those people and they're happy because they're happier because they have their financial part together. But I tell you something, their social part, after both of them get exposed, remember, they also get exposed to social media, but had nothing to do with that age group. So they're being exposed to a lexicon, ways of life, and things of much younger people at all times, including social issues. When the topics of marriage and relationships come up, you have 50-plus-year-old women listening to the opinions of a 23 to 32-year-old who are panicking. Thank you for my TED Talk. That's half the fucking problem with women our age, is that they're absorbing a playbook that never applied to their generation or the one before them. It would never work. You were not bred or inducted into that lifestyle as a single Jewish woman on a TV show in New York somewhere. None of you sisters are Jewish women. You are Judean women. And I think that's where the audacity is at, because I think it's triggering to you if you know you knew. But if you don't know that you knew, no, you're not copying the white woman. You're following the Jewish woman's playbook. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, Jew woman. You're a Jew copying a Jewish woman, while the Jewish woman is copying you. Now do you see why it doesn't work? Interference loop. That shit right there is new. That's why it's falling apart. We're talking about divine math and correspondence, electricity before you get to thought. It's a divine loop. It's an error. Mm-hmm. You have a mind control operation through media and publications targeting the source. The thing targeting the source and giving it a narrative is copying the source. So the copy is telling the source to become a copy so that the copy can become source. But the problem is if the copy makes the source a copy, then when it needs more, it just gets more of a copy. Then it corrodes. Bit rate reduction. And that's what we're living through. Thank you. Shout out to all the sisters out there that cause their checksum bad in the narrative. Ooh. Pop the Molly, we sweating. Good. That shit new anyway. Like the fuck. I was outside my whole life. They wasn't acting like that. They just started acting like that at the turn of 2000s. Real life. People like, oh no, but there's people out in the streets and there's hoes out there. They were the minority. The difference is they're the majority now. What we're talking about as men is what happened to the majority of the women back then. Where are they now? If most of them are hoes now. You're missing a class. You're missing a gradient of a class that's not in the whole category. That's what we remember and talking about. We ain't talking about your choices. We're talking about where's that class of women at? Class, women, social. Yeah, that class doesn't exist no more because it's a different class, a different generation. I know that's right. But with the upperclassmen trying to adopt these principles and live in that same life, they're causing a interference loop with each other. Thank God. Shoosh. hmm Double tap on both sides. So now the Jewish woman's identity is threatened in a society where they took the highest tier, obviously. And then the sisters, who ought to be the highest tier of everybody else, quite apparent, they don't know who to be anymore either. hmm Keeping up with the Joneses leads you to a dead end, hence why you don't keep up with them. Do not jump off the bridge with them. That's all in the same category of fortune cookies. Because if you follow them, you might end up dead. hmm 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 That's the only reason why we would judge some shit for years and years and decades across all the land. Everyone says the same thing, keeping up with the Joneses. That means that shit resonates for some fucking strange reason. People who don't even know each other. Oh, that's crazy. That don't make no sense. I don't know a K-pop word yet. So I'm just saying. hmm Weird story. So yeah. Interference loops. They're canceling out their own magic, but it wasn't theirs. It was a previous class's magic. They inherited it. They didn't know what they inherited. Signing papers and spending digital money. I get it. You lose track of everything like that. Energy flows where attention goes. If they're not paying attention to how they got this shit, then they're not going to keep it either. They forget the operative power is occupation and colonization. Force. Force requires energy. So if you're not putting energy into that right there, you're going to lose your occupational force of energy. Mm-hmm. Aha, hush that fuss. Everybody goes to the back of the bus. You have the same thing with your arms power right now, right? Military, DOD, Pentagon, fucking funding, budgets, soldiers, pensions, disability checks, fucking food stamps, obviously, for a lot of them, and especially the ones who are older over retirement. So do all the science. There's a strain on the surplus of funds that they need to take care of their force. Not so that it can go to a physical war, because it rarely does, but financially, narrative wise, enforcement wise, awareness wise, you're surrounded by American veterans and soldiers, quite literally. What could that mean if something happened to us? But if you're not taking care of them, they're no longer a force. Hmm? They're defunding the military. Indirectly, of course. Hmm? Since the federal government is in the same equation. If it's shrinking the federal government, it's also shrinking the military. Law of correspondence. They are quantum entangled. That's why either exists, by the way. So if the federal government is having money issues, then the military is money issues. One more time, we'll do it again. Money issues at the top of the pyramid, money issues at the bottom of the pyramid. Top of the pyramid, the feds and the Pentagon. Bottom of the pyramid, everyone that does what they say is constitutional. Which is why I'm not be tripping on the military too much. Because they're trying to apply honor to a lie. But the lie came from school. Different Instagram filters. I understand everything. So yeah. But thank God, and good news, a lot of the JAG in the military are resigning. They might not want to hug and kiss niggas just yet, but something about their honor code as men, they know when something's going too far the wrong way. That's just a sign to me that whatever degree that they have about honor, or even more so, a different Ponzi scheme and benefits package, whatever that used to be. All I know now is that it ain't going that way no more according to them, if they're pulling themselves out of it. So Yeah, they're downsizing their military. If the oldest ones in charge are resigning. Mm-hmm. Yup. Tough. That's a weird story. Starting all these fucking wars with people. You'd figure you'd be expanding the motherfucker. Not their workforce. Their actual military. You know, the command structure. I am not talking about the cannon fodder, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. They don't run the money. So yeah, I think oh shit. I don't know. I don't know. I just know a little bit by proximity. That is it. Sometimes that might be too much. I remember when our kingdom had a military. Cool story. I wonder why they stepped aside and let this happen. Same people that won the American Revolution and Civil Wars. Where did they happen when this shit got hypothecated and they made a run for all the banks? They just stayed home until the president called them. Weird fucking story. That's a weird fucking story. I think they're just caught up too much in that black and white thing going on. Oh yeah, come back home from a war, then you got new neighbors and shit, and they burning crosses in your yard. Damn. And all the people you fought for in that military of a different color, now the police force. Damn. And they ain't even trying to help you. Damn. KKK part 2. Could you imagine? The Civil War wasn't too far before that shit. That means all the motherfuckers would have been in that goddamn war. Where were they at? Fucking work, busy at Target? All right, then. So either it's people they fought wars with, or it's people who just got here. There is no room for nothing else for men. Wake your ass up. So yeah, very strange stories emerging. Especially after the Trail of Tears and the Black Wall Streets and all that. It's just the people who were fighting in the military. Since this was a military occupation. There you go. There is no room for nations. Oh, no, because this landmass, you know, as I know, is under occupation because it was colonized. Yep. And the only thing that can colonize is a military. Yep. So it wasn't a whole bunch of people hoping they could stay here after a vacation, after a famine, a black plague, bubonic plague, fleas, ticks, rats, shit in the streets, and everything else after we left. And then you go, I think I want to move here freely. Shut the front door. It's the military. The Navy being the main one. Who's in question today besides the Navy? Pluto and Aquarius be damned. I know. Y'all heard about the Marines. Yeah, the Marines because of water. They used to be the pirates. Yeah. Then the Navy. But that's where the technology is. Would have been derived from our technology though, since it was here. Okay, you understand everything. That's how we do it, man. Common sense forever, man. There's not too much time in between these things. That's what I'm trying to get around to. Those people would have been alive for both sides of things. So it doesn't make sense they just let it happen. When they were just shooting motherfuckers in the face together. Yeah, remember, it's the same men out there. Every man doesn't die at the same age, let alone all at once. So, unless there's a war. Yep. Prisoners of war would sound like slaves to you. You know who has prisoners of war? Militaries. The United States was strong arm occupied by military. So when they have the audacity to say we're slaves, what they're saying is we're prisoners of war. We are. But we're only prisoners of war because of the military. Thank you for joining my TED Talk. Not because white people bought us from Africa. That doesn't fucking make sense. How would that make you a fucking prisoner of war? Why the fuck would you need a military for that if these motherfuckers are just doing business? Exactly. That doesn't make sense. Thank you for joining the history class. Yeah, the United States was taken over by a military, not mean white people had cool ideas. Do you think the soldiers knew how to read and fucking write King James English? All right, now imagine if a bunch of idiots won because they had guns. that they wouldn't be able to follow the laws and all the things you're supposed to do correctly and be bankrupt all at once. Ever since Lincoln, and ever since, and ever since, and ever since up to the Titanic, and ever since 1933, and ever since the 60s and the 80s, and right now, bitch. Yeah, it was this country, if you will, at the very least, its headquarters, because this is a military occupation for the church that they're no longer being paid by, it is a military occupation. So the military, in terms of finances, like the military of the bank, the military of the dollar, that's the only thing left holding it together, and they're defunding it. Just keep that in mind. That's the most important story of our lifetime. Whatever the fuck they're doing with the money in the military, I pay very fucking close attention to that over food stamps. I tell you something. Y'all in for a weird fucking time. If they're actually redoing the United States under fucking, what's that shit called? Scaffolding. You better watch who they try to put in charge next in those JAG positions. See what fucking nationality they have. So I'm telling you something. They gonna try to emancipate us again, nigga? Nah, not this time. But it sounds like it. It sounds like they're rehypothecating things. Now they just call it budgeting. Bankruptcy shit. You know what I'm talking about? That's why the military doesn't want to answer media questions right now. Notice how convenient that is. This ain't got shit to do with Donald Trump. This is a fucking military branch. It's the military saying they don't want to talk to news media. It's the military that said that. That's why I started paying attention. I said, the military don't want to talk? Oh, shit. They going to war with Venezuela? The fuck? That ain't no goddamn problem. Socially it is. But military-wise, that ain't no goddamn problem. Socially it is. But they don't, but DOD don't do nothing with social issues. So what the fuck going on out here? They want to talk about the war effort. Donald Trump declared we had a fucking trade war. We is. You don't need soldiers for a trade war. Unless you do, you know, trade over waters, so you're blowing up people in the waters to make a point. Venezuela, what do you want to do? Do you want to trade with us or trade with dudes? I don't think blowing up their fathers is going to make that extortion style thing ain't doing nothing but pissing off people. Because Venezuela already signed a 360 deal with Russia. Did they miss that at the White House and DOD? When I first covered, before they started killing their fishermen, Maduro had already signed a treaty with Russia. Russia and China had already sent them stuff. They're partners. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So now if they do Venezuela, which is all the news this weekend, in case we haven't been paying attention, as if we don't have enough to worry about, they're making military decisions about Venezuela in terms of how it affects trade in those waters. Not just the drugs, but the whole fucking map down there. And China and Russia already put a bid for it. That's after us trying to put our boats in the Panama Canal. That's why we did that shit. The Panama Canal in South America, that's the biggest trade route that they have left. Don't miss this. This is different. This is a different type of story. That trade route, similar to Panama Canal over there in Arabia, I don't know what it's called. You know, I'm ignorant. But East Europe, there's a thing, Saudi Arabia, there's a thing over there. There's a lot of water over there. They already lost those. They already lost those. They already lost that. Nope. Game over. And then you got the Silk Road Part 2. That ain't theirs anyway. Game over. And then you got, like, you see how they're treating the Caribbean. Too bad they're no longer buying sugarcane and fruits. Game over. So it's like, all they got is a pipeline to South America. Americans. Your country is going to war with Americans. Civil war. Venezuela is in America. Swear to God it is. Because I swear Venezuela is in a place called South America. That's just a location in America. So a foreign occupation of Nuremberg, DC, is sending American troops from the lands of North America to blow up and fight South Americans over banking disputes. We following this story yet? Who empowers the occupier currently? The bank. All right. Who's losing money right now, value wise? The same bank. Who's the puppet master of this bank? Well, Jerome Powell and Donald Trump, at least. All right. They're doing the same things. All right. So now, what does that got to do with Venezuela? Exactly. Weird story. Oh, they want the oil. Who? Who? Who wants the oil? Who? I could have sworn the reason why they even have oil is so that they can regulate these trade routes and make everyone on them rely on something called the petrodollar. Yeah, the petrodollar belongs to the central bank. So if Venezuela is selling barrels of oil if like the United States needs the oil for the sake of oil, the United States petrodollar and Venezuela's petrodollar goes to the same bank. So no, they never want that because they never actually do that when they take over places with oil. Have you noticed yet? Your damn gas prices. How much oil do we have to take from niggas to see a difference? So that cannot be what it is. It's the trade route of the petrodollar. So what's happening? Oh, I'm glad you asked. So since the United States is having a hard time bullying the Panama Canal and users, which is why they're starting to bully the highway people, because the highway people who are undocumented are normally coming from where? The Panama Canal. Thank you for joining my TED Talk. That's how like our news and all these smart people don't go to college are really fucking stupid, because all of this shit is in the news at the same time because it's all talking about the same fucking thing. The grid of the petrodollar is under attack. That's it. It's a domestic issue. Because DC is running the United States. That's the entire continent of America, by the way, which is why it's not part of the 50 North America, I guess, United States. Don't fucking play with us. I'm telling you something. It was our entire empire. So if they hypothecated anything, they hypothecated the whole fucking thing. United States of Mexico, United States of Brazil, United States of America. All three have the same prefix, aka they are all the same main corporation, funded by a foreign bank. All of America is under occupation by the central bank. So how the fuck would it be then beneficial to go against America for oil? Yeah, that's when that Jeopardy music starts to play. You know why? Because they had us caught up in monopoly rules and not the rules of the actual game. So simply put, because China and Russia have been doing their thing, you know, since America as a whole has not been taking care of its people, Russia and China step in and they start doing it. It's like they copy and pasted the strategy before. Pilgrims. But actually when they do it, they actually make shit better for them, you know? See, the reason why those other American countries of brown people tend to be so poor and, you know, in their conditions compared to us is because white people. That had nothing to do with the colony or the banking side of things. That's uniquely because of white people in charge of the things. They uniquely didn't allow progress in largely predominant brown areas in which they do not mix in or want to be around. And so it's a social construct halt on how that should look. But quite technically, like it always looked, South America and North America should be at least Victorian level in all of their metropolises, because they were. That's what Tartaria World Fair is. Now go look at those pictures. Thank you. So that means it went downgraded. Why did they downgrade? Because they were attacked by who? White people back then and now, right? Abandoned, came back, made some deals, took over the trade routes, the Panama Canal, and then started leveraging. And then ever since, they never built that shit back up. Amazing. Why would they? Occupying force, right? And then they have kids, and people kind of forget that part of the war in the story. So now just the military in DC is involved with that. But the whole thing they're involved with, remember guys, all of this starts with pirates, trade routes, maritime. That's the occupying force, not the Americans or the people trying to fucking mind their fucking business on the land itself. Oh, but that's why it'd be confusing. We be talking about like little family stories and tribe stories, and I'm like, They didn't declare war on your grandmother's house. No, they declared war on everything where you would build a grandma's house. Like y'all wasn't there, so you understand. So it's the trade routes is the problem. So Venezuela's going to do Chinese deals and Russian deals, and thus no one locally is going to be buying their exports. Then that means they're just going to take their ass to China. It's not just about making money with China, though. That is not the fucking problem there. Is that they start circulating Chinese or Russian currency in Venezuela, thus Colombia, which is why they talking to Colombia next, because obviously drugs, right? And then over there in Brazil, not too far away, but it's still the United States of Brazil, so they acting straight. But if they don't one day, because they're outnumbered by the people going to these countries, the hot spots, to do whatever they do to get extra money from the drug fencers, if you understand everything, in a new currency. So they'll be able to upgrade and buy things and bypass all the yellow tape that has stopped them artificially on a social racist structure too. Because they can just get Chinese contractors to fix grandma's house now. They can get Russian builders to build up the fucking tofu dregs that is better than what they had right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be progress for them, is the biggest fear. It's going to instantly progress them up at the same time too. Everyone's borrowing credit, but the difference is what the fuck good is having a United States dollar or petrodollar if that credit doesn't allow you to build anything? Because your builders or the people you have to contract through with that currency, federalized, are not going to build anything useful for you, because you can see the fucking economic hitman book. Like, they upset their local economies on purpose, and they made them depend on the dollar. And then in that dependence and that interdependence with the main bank itself, no matter what their local currency is called, they could not do anything outside of their network, like fucking healthcare and shit. And they're like, fuck, we're kind of just stuck. We got to train ourselves. Like, yeah, now you need an education. So you have to go to our schools now. Habla no English. It doesn't matter. You have to learn this curriculum so that you have this piece of paper license so that you can go to this university, which you need prerequisite to get the papers you need to start these businesses. And even still, you got to acquire fucking materials. So that's a fucking dummy mission that lasts about at least fucking 50 years. Now do that since the 80s. Tick tock, tick tock. Oh, we're finally here. And at the last fucking moment, Russia and China goes, fuck it. They did all the hard part. We'll go ahead and fund it. Boom, got they ass. Don't forget China when they asked the whole time in human history. You don't forget it now. They're competing. Oh, got they ass. Nah. Oh, they gonna do all the brunt work and all the ugly for work. So when we show up, they ain't hating us. Now we're gonna fund it and look like the heroes. I can be your hero, baby. I can take away those banks. We can build with you forever. Yeah, that's the real game being played. And nobody talk about that or see it. I know, because they're arguing about how white people feel about other white people. They said we make everything about race. Yet everything in this conversation, you look at white people talking about how they feel about other white people. Tell me I'm lying. You'll go on the news. You'll see all kind of DEI people now, but they'll be saying, let's refer to the white people. Let's send over to professionals in a suit. There's a white guy. And what are you talking about? The guy over there? Yeah, that's another white guy. And they're talking about what's going on in the government and how it's going to affect my life. Yeah, that's why nationalities are important. Right there's why nationalities are important, if you're wondering. If you're all the same nationals, that could have never happened. Because you'd be representing your nation, your people, nativity. Venezuela. That's just a nation of people that are Americans. Venezuela is a nationality of people who reside in South America. They're Americans. Their nationality is Venezuelans. Their state is Venezuela. But bloodline-wise, when it comes to rulership, they ought to be those people. Could you fucking imagine that those people could be related to people up here too? Can you imagine that those people could be related to people anywhere else in the fucking world? And you're gonna find out a lot of those people over there in Asia are related to South American people. They have two different nationalities. Because of where they at now. But what's that got to do with the game of telephone? They've been playing with every last single fucking grandma the whole time they have existed here. Thank you for joining my TED Talk. Everybody didn't lose connection with everybody, especially those who pay attention to pedigrees and nationalities. The only people that have this amnesia are people who don't know what those are because they identify as colors, white or black. The end. You talk about everybody else in nationalities. Oh, Europe over there, the Europeans. Oh, the Japanese, the Japan over there, the Japanese. We're all Americans. No, we're not. We're all United States of American citizen things. You know what we mean. But we're not. We're not a nation of people. Nation means you mixed with those tribes. We ain't got too much time for it not to be. Cowboys and Indians are nah, nigga. So yeah, anyway, those group of tribes form that nation. And then they get a 360 deal with the white guys. I get it. But that's why Venezuela still look brown, don't it? Correct. So whoever the white people who occupy are didn't want to live down there, apparently. So they just wanted to do business, HOA shit, and that's what is wrong. Maduro saying we do not need your HOA program no more. We'll deal with the central bank ourselves. Thank you. We have our own military. And we have some fucking friends that have cooler technology. That's all we fucking needed. We already have 8 million soldiers. So now they got drones and missiles. So that's why that war of just ship versus ship, soldier versus soldier is stupid. That's a dumb fucking idea. They're just sending either one of the American side kids to die for what? For what? For what? For what? For what? Smuggling drugs? For what? For what? For what? For what? Who does all the drugs per capita? For what? For what? For what? Doesn't make sense. So it's a lot of things, but especially that trade route. China already got the Panama Canal developed. China invested in the Panama Canal. Like the people, like the workers, like the infrastructure, the buildings, like China's upgrading it, finally. Russia too. They'll do the same thing in Venezuela. And there's tons of Chinese in Central America, if you haven't been paying attention to the border crossings. Tons of Chinese already out there. Y'all, do you know Chinese people are the fastest growing population in Mexico? The place with a Jewish woman talking about she's a president of the United States of Mexico? And you wonder if Jewish people are involved in your United States president? If you want to wake your ass up, you want to guess who their bankers are? Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Now think about how crazy life is right now. Same thing for Argentina. That the hidden banker families are down to, listen very carefully, as a corporation. The corporation bankers, Jewish allegedly, I guess, their CEOs are now Jewish. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I know you missed it. I'll break it down in a second. I need enough battery, that's all. Fuck, this shit don't charge on this wall. I swear it don't. I know y'all didn't hear what I said, so I'm gonna drive. Come on, fucking charge, bitch. I'm gonna draw this shit. Oh, that's why we got the markers in this bitch. Watch this. Shut the show gun L. Hold up. Oh, they on fucked up. They got Jewish bankers on TV. Hold on. Oh, shit. I need one more trick. Hold on. I just need somewhere to sit this bitch until I fucking finish drawing. Alright, rotation lock. Cut it for that. If only I was left-handed. The fuck? Hold on. I can't do this left-handed. How much percent I got? Not enough to be fucking clever. Maybe not. Maybe I draw it fast enough. Fuck. Alright, what the fuck does happen? We have the United States. S. That's unum. Sanctum. That's united. That's not what those words mean, but they're holding. This exists because this exists. They're connected. It'll make more sense once you understand what this is, irregardless of what the word after it is. So you have like the United States of America, de facto by default, North America specifically, as far as not up to Canada, which is North America too. But so United States of America, you have one in Mexico, and you have one in Brazil, slash what we call South America too, and a few other conglomerates or little subsidiaries of Unum Sanctum. This is important because Unum Sanctum is church. The Pope issued that doctrine, which is why they brought their bitch ass here. Who is they? Not white people. Who is they? Not black people. Who is they? Christians. There's no Christians here. Not their type of no Christians. You know what I'm talking about. We are not pagans. They are. Anyway, so when they talk about the separation of church and states, well, if Unum Sanctum is issued by the church and the Pope and the commander of their religion, so Unum Sanctum is a religious thing, making it a holy war. I do not want you to miss this part of why would they do that? Because they're fucking crazy, but the science level of it on their side, they're trying to save themselves. That's a holy war. We're prisoners of war because now we're under the United States. By default, we are not Christians. We're not Catholics. We're not part of their church. We are the target of Unum Sanctum, and that's a religion holy war. So we're prisoners of a holy war. You can only have a holy war against holy people, though. So that's why it's intended. Well, who are the holy groups of people through their history? They always tell you the same fucking things. Judeans. And Mohammedans. They're the same thing, by the way. Two different languages. Kinda. Two different variations of the same language. So it's a holy war. You would think it'd be between Christians and Muslims. Wrong. This land is Judean. So if there is a Christian problem, it'll be from itself because Christians come from the Catholic Church in terms of leadership. Now you have all kind of cryptos and other religious people like, yeah, I grew up Christian, but they can still work for them. So that's why it doesn't matter. That's why I always go to the top of the ropes, because all the people at the bottom, like, yeah, you got people who betray, double agents, opportunists, all kind of willy-nilly shit when there's no accountability or cameras. But I'm just saying, like, if you want to follow the story, you follow the top of the fucking pyramid and everything close to it. School doesn't teach you any of that. It teaches you the bottom level, which is why it's confusing. So yeah, it's a religion holy war featuring Mohammedans and Judeans. They can have their 100 different factions each, by the way. But you just gotta say, like, who's where? Well, we know who's here by default are them. So if we're both here together, then it's a holy war against who? The Catholics and the Christians against us, since they're not the Holy Roman anything. So it's two different Romes. It's Holy Roman Empire, these guys, versus whoever hypothecated it later and came back over here recently with the Unum Sanctum. This is not a color. This just means these people are not descendants of angels. Because these two are holy. So this is more human. But I still think there's something else behind that. Anyway. Angelic. These are the people who gave you all the languages you know in religions. Yeah, they're descendants of angels. Hence, what the fuck else would they do? Holy angels. This is where we are now, in the middle of some shit. You have a concept of citizens now. Citizen, you could be a citizen of the United States and not be from the United States. You can be a citizen of the United States and be African. You can be European, modern-wise, Chinese, whatever, right? So being part of the United States and being a United States citizen doesn't tell you whose land that is. Citizenship, being a United States citizen and having an ID and having paperwork isn't speaking to the land you're on. It can't be. Because people can come here and get citizenships. So citizenships and being a citizen of the United States doesn't talk about land at all. That's what everyone's missing. Whose land is this? Well, if they colonize, the colonizer by default in its colonization isn't the landowner. Like you understand? That's why they like common sense ain't coming. If the United States is colonizing at any point in its history and working with Unum Sanctum in the church, which we know was from 1493 onward, and this is the legacy of that, by the way. But they separated a little bit. If you understand everything, cool. They are still using them for a bank. But still, now we're here though with them. They started here, but now they're here on what land? I know that's right. Marrakesh. We'll spell it like how you would say it. I'm Morocco. Like my father. Hokada. Like, that's how our words go. Don't miss this. That tells you we Moors, shorty. So at the very least, whoever land it is ought to be Moors, since it's named after Moors anyway. Ain't that right, Mayate? That's a Moorish language, ain't it? They would call us a Mayate, how disrespectful, but they're saying it in a Moorish language. So they're calling a Mayate a Moor then. I know that's right. I know that's right. Because that's where the fuck we are, nigga. That's where we are, right? We're the Mayan, Moors, Mayates, Americans in America, Moors, Morocco, Hakata. That's all the land things. You notice the United States part is not a land thing, hence all the confusion. It's the United States of America. The United States is not America. Because if it was, it would be ran by Moors still. Get it? So that means the United States is occupying who? Moors, stupid. It's a holy Roman, Moorish, holy Moorish, holy Moors, Moors and Indian associates, because everybody ain't on this side. Sometimes they on this one. I find these truths to be self-evident. Oh yeah, we were kings and shit. Cute. We're khans and shit. American, by the way. So if American is in the name, whose land is it? If American is the national of the land, American, a Moorish Khan, is the national. The United States is not national. It's unum sanctum. It gives citizenship. It's a corporation. Corpse means dead. So it cannot have land anyway. In its designation. I keep a real one down. You can't keep a real one down. What my brother say? He said, they can per capita. JPX LOL. Jonathan 3. Oh shit. We should be back though. Cam says, in Starship Troopers, there's a difference between civilians and citizens. You have to earn one through the military. Mm-hmm. But you're still under unum sanctum if you... Those terms are under the umbrella of occupation. That's not what you would call yourself if you were a nation, though. TBFB says 13, they love to mix that U.S. and America. Mm-hmm. But they be talking about like copyrights and names and titles and registrations. They're not talking about law when they do that. That's why they get away with it. Connotative linguistics. I hate them for that. And our schools gave us that, by the way. That was the Rockefeller thing, to give you connotative linguistics of language models so you never understand what they were doing at the banks. The racist Christian thing was just like a multiplier for us. Those are two separate things. The racist white past of religious zealots and the federal government fucking you over with the bankers, those are two different ops. The KKK didn't put this together. The KKK is in the way of us figuring it out. But the KKK obviously works with people my skin color. My grandfather was one of them. To what degree, I don't know. We'd have to ask some Prince Hall Masons what that's about. But in the zeitgeist of civil rights and history and black versus white relations, y'all gotta remember, those white people burning crosses, hanging niggas, and eating niggas at picnics, They're uniquely Christian white people. They did that shit at churches. So Protestants and whoever the fuck. After Reconstruction, that group of white people identifying as Protestants in that time period that came to these states, all that terror they were doing that because they were Christians, not because they're United States citizens. Those are Christians going to our territories and hanging us and eating us, calling us the Black Devil. Those are uniquely white Christians in that time period. Nobody else, Chief. And some of the Native Americans mixed in, obviously, but they always have a Shriner degree. You always look for that crescent moon cutting off the pharaoh's head. Why the fuck would a Native American have a trinket on of a fucking pharaoh anyway? Goofy ass Egyptians. So you understand everything. Like, they're cutting off the heads of Egyptians because a pharaoh denotes it's Egypt. So whether they know who the pharaoh is or not, you would have to kill firstborn Egyptians, Shriners, which is why they wear Moorish fezzes in America. Their shrines are Muslims. They occupied the Mohammedans and they occupied the Judeans. It's a holy war. Those two designations are the bloodlines of angels, uniquely. Now we're down to paper and politics lately. But they forget the history is up here. They can't explain the evil in the racism, in the social, in the black versus white and food stamps for some kids, but not others. They're still in that paradigm from the Christians that came in the middle of this. They weren't in the American Revolution. There was no Christians here. That's what my point is. There's no Christians in America. It's in the laws. We are not a Christian nation. So that doesn't dictate the history of Christianity in the government. It's not same. You have people who were Christians in the government, but the government itself wasn't here about Christianity. It's a HOA. It's a service corporation being funded by Catholics who are sending Christians, Cretans. That's a designation that they gave these people, and they ran with it. Christianity, Antichrist, a synagogue of Satan. Yeah, them niggas. Not the Jewish ones, the whole damn Vatican bitch. They're not holy. Hence, a synagogue of Satan. They're not the Holy Roman Empire. They're Roman Catholics. They're not holy Roman Catholics. They're a synagogue of Satan. Literally. If you go back in time to who the factions could have been in, it's easy. Especially because it's King James English. That's what he was talking about. That's what we were talking about in our language specifically. So it can't be another version of this story. It would have to be from our perspective. It's our language. You get it? Like, they play too fucking much. And that's the problem. They've lost track of time, lost track of their progress and genetics, and obviously credit and money and interest rates. So this part of this story is not going to be a priority for a while. Cool. That means it will never happen again. You can't go back and fix this. They can't skip this class. I promise you. I see people ain't got time with just by dealing with older people. They're not, this shit, they can't keep this up. I'm talking about the narrative. I'm talking about like what happened and addressing it. And they hope that they still have control of the society to not question it, and everyone else going, how am I gonna pay my rent? But soon these people be like, yo, where the fuck my money at? That's a different chant. That's a different chant. Not how I'm gonna pay my rent. No, where my money at? That's a different chant. That's everybody. That's the whole chorus. That's everybody raising their hand. Where my money at? So remember, when people start asking where their money at, they stop working and shit stop moving anyway. They're already cutting down the drivers from the Panama Canal who don't speak any English. They ain't got enough American drivers ready either. Have you seen these fatalities lately with these vaccine deaths? Exactly. So it's like they're shutting down the United States Service Corporation's trade route. Mexico's bypassing it to go directly to Canada. Everyone was going across the border in those trucks from the Panama. A lot of them Asian and African, but they're doing trade with their own establishments, so there's no taxes. You're taking a Chinese product, if you will, on a Chinese freight, no matter who the driver is, to a Chinese warehouse, factory, or store. And you're paying for it in their currency. The Chinese store that receives the services and the exchange rate, they would have to put it in a US, so do an exchange type of thing. Maybe. Maybe they don't even have to. Maybe once the products come in anyway, they can just sell it in USD. But they're paying for it in their own local currency. Yeah. So they're only going to be taxed on the product sales anyway, which is built into where these trucks are going anyway. A lot of these states don't have a state tax. Hi, Las Vegas, Nevada. So you imagine how Las Vegas, Mexico, Panama, hence Los Angeles, California, hence, except for that state tax part. But here, mm-hmm, where all the money laundering is, mm-hmm, now you gotta look at their fucking federal trade route. That's what Donald Trump is in charge of, not people. The state is in charge of its people. The federal government, DC, is in charge of its citizens. These are not the same things. If you go to your DMV and not get a driver's license, federal usually, if you just get a state ID, that is your state citizenships. Let me see your old papers, boy. Everybody got one. So I guess everybody was a boy then. So your state ID means you're a state citizen, state property, right? A federal ID is a license for permission to use their trade routes. Not because they're their fucking family. Because your ass is driving on their trade routes. Your ass is using their mailboxes. So you're doing shipping, hence why they're in control of it. You can sell things through the mail, thus. Every aspect of your life, no matter who you are in this country, if you're in the country using its resources to do commerce, you're going through the federal government, DC. And everywhere else, there's the United States. HOA shit. Their HOA of trade routes, that's what the military took over. The church part is what's trying to do all the fucking weird molesting shit to people and taking over people's minds. They're two different branches. But then there's a separation of the church and state. All right. The church used to have the military. The state is now the people left. I guess the Native Americans. No, not the people you see in the films. Anybody here who ain't fucking American, actually. Obviously, it's a nationality of Moors. So thus, we don't have to play stupid with these niggas. Because they should at least know what the fuck a Moor is if they never had to been slaves or never subjugated to our education and our poverty. So how the fuck they forget about anything? They must be fucking foreigners. Anyway, so it's two different factions. It's not just Donald Trump and the whole government that you see called Congress. You missing a whole bunch of people. Nah, they got this game fucked up. That's not what's going on. I could just tell you in stack order. It's all happening though. Everything we talking about is happening. But that FBI sting on gambling, that's not because they care about morality and just chasing and making things even for the FanDuelers who can gamble at home now. Do the science, please. Do the science, please. Everyone's gambling and betting, and I doubt they're reporting their winnings properly. Let's cut it fucking out, okay? So them targeting the NBA people connected to the mafia is not a isolated thing about someone being busted and snitching on who the other players were. No. The fact that the FBI was looking already, don't miss it. Why is the FBI studying the richest people in Vegas' spending habits? Let me rewind back time a little bit. Started earlier this year. Donald Trump and the DOJ asked for permission for the state of Nevada to release certain documentation. And if the federal government is involved, they're talking about federal trade shit. So, their treasury notes. They need information about where this money in the casino and all that shit is going between the infrastructure or the mechanism, the business itself, and the people behind it. And then the people who claim and win things, they want accountability. Nevada said no. But you gotta understand that's not a flex because it's Nevada. Like Nevada has to say no. Don't miss it. Nevada, the state itself, is not DC. So that's why DC is asking. Nevada and DC have a federal relationship. Highways, infrastructure, guarantees, and enforcement in case niggas act up. Don't miss that. But it's Sin City, aka no religion. Although there's tons of religious mafias here. You know, the best part of them apparently. Mormons and everybody. Mafia wise, family wise, agenda wise, all through trade routes from where they're from, where they grandma from, all the way over here. Hence, crime families still in the middle of this fucking story. Sopranos are always connected to families somewhere else. And we know they're not Moors or Italians. Wake your ass up. They came over here before you had pictures, TVs, and books about them. So they could have told you whatever the fuck they thought you should think they are. You wouldn't fucking know between 1920 and 1960, what, 100 years after occupation either way, right? That's their problem for lying about where they come from. They're not those things. We now know those people as those things that they say, but you cannot make the mistake of, because they're saying they're Italian and they're in America, that does not mean that they ever lived in fucking Italy in 1770s. So what the fuck does Italian mean to me if that's now a new Roman state? Roman being mixed. All right then, cut it the fuck out. So, but they're crime families. So these are people who are taking their bloodline seriously. So they did their homework like me. They're trying to keep that, but they are all always in so-called criminality. If you look at it through our rules, but if you look at it as families and trade routes, this is what they've been doing. So Vegas is a umbrella for a lot of different types, new ones and old ones, trying to, do the same Ponzi, if you will, money laundering. They'll do a lot of street money and they'll gamble it and they'll lose it, and then someone else will win it, and it cleans itself through activity. It's very strange, but it makes all the sense when you're trying to say, hey, all of a sudden you got $3 million in things, but you ain't got $3 million in your bank. You're like, yeah, I'm a gambler. See, most people don't even think about that part. Losing the money gambling is a perfect excuse when you're lost $1 million gambling, but you got 10 million in fucking selling bricks. And you're about to use $1 million of that brick money to buy a new building. And you can just gamble $1 million, tithes and shit, since you're dealing with crime families under the Pope, correct? All right, then. So the ones that took over the Holy Roman Empire, and now it's just Roman Catholics, Cathars, right? All right. So those Holy Roman, Italian-ish, Jewish, white-ish, they're all white people. So it's like, all right, them, the Cretans, them. They don't have too many more years to live in this timeline. If it's them, so white people, and what they mix with, I get it. Cool fucking story, but they mix with white people. How you doing? You should still look like us, same time period. So anyway, that's not the story. So these guys, they're cracking down on them here. Now, in order for you to do those big stakes games where there's $1 million around, and if you're just a yuppie going into the casino, they have that thing that says know your customer. You gotta like submit like banking information and things like that if you're fucking around in some of these types of resorts where they gamble and launder at the highest orders. So what does that do? That makes the people who are coming in on the game out of the new cartels, out of the new little street gangs and hood niggas that are actually doing money things, now they're hot if they come here and play the games. Of course, they don't have the underworld and the legal games between the families, but now just publicly laundering money in. They're saying, no, we got to check where all this money comes from. We got to see where that pot comes from now. Like, okay, so he came, he brought 10,000. He came, he brought 10,000, but somehow the pot was 30 million. None of these people got $30 million in circulation in their accounts. Where's that extra 20 million coming from? That's what it's like. Yeah, it's fuck everybody involved no matter what, but no. You gotta think the bank and its enforcer is looking for the connections of this illegal trade and pipeline of laundering and embezzling, including federal employees, if it includes NBA and NBA players, if you understand everything about life. Yeah, man. What happened to the United States just now is exactly what happened to us. We're subverted from inside. A coup. Masons dressing up as Tomahawk Indians. Apparently, that has something to do with politics. And you'll see, like, it's the enemy within, and their enemies is their friends. This ain't got nothing to do with us. They've been robbing the paper corporation. That's what Trump is at war with. That's why China calls it domestic issues. It's a civil war, but uniquely within the federal government. Not about the people on the land or the soldiers or the Indians. No, this is a federal government civil war. On some fucking Marvel shit. It's not because I'm black and they're white people. But they exist because I'm black people and they're colonizers. Multi-dimensional problem here. Let's see if I can draw it. Shit. Hold on. What's the multi-dimensionality of colonization? Let's see. Alright, so you got black, you got white. The only options you have here is African, Hebrew, Afro, Asiatic. That's all saying Bible. Oh. Oh yeah, this one fire. Killed that shit. Alabama. I remember Alabama. Shout out to the ancestors. I can almost remember how it's supposed to be. Let me see what time that is. These presets suck. Smyth-EL, but true. Crypto Jews who practice Italian in public as well, but true. They do. People don't understand how deep that is. Bloodline, belief, and membership to a fucking occupied force. But anyway. So it's kind of like that. So I have citizens that identify as crayons. A black crayon versus white crayons. In the middle, they're all citizens. On the white crayon side, and anything that's not black crayon, that's everything else, right? You have what you call Westerners, or Europe, like Europeans in colloquial terms, since the quotes. But you would say on their pedigree level, they said, well, Slavic or Caucasus Mountains, and maybe out of Africa too, right? I mean, it's possible because this is mankind we're talking about. I should put that at the top. Church is mankind's ideas. This is not mankind happening. Now, both of these have a middle gradient where they're mixed. It's not all or nothing. Like not all black people are any of one of these things. But if any one of those things existed, they would be black people. Now, not all white people are any one of these things, but if one of these things ever exists, they would probably be white people. So understand, citizens are as a gradient and mixture thereof, but most of the United States and all over the world, citizenry, specifically, the biggest populace across the globe, if you will, would have to be admixtures of citizenry. So, but the main mix was white. And it's borrowing from them, the other genetics. Cool, so if you're black, connotative, you could be African descent. A lot of people were just saying, well, let's keep it simple. I'm Hebrew descent, traveling all around the world. But ultimately, if you're using these concepts, you're referring to a Bible anyway, so stop fucking playing with me. But you would have to be around at least an Afro-Asiatic, Oriental, more, out of Egypt. All right, and then, but what's interesting amongst these people, some of them happen to be holy. Since there's 12 tribes of man and one emperor, angel, 13, El. So thus, the point of him is to get those genes, Genesis, into everything else, irregardless, depending on where Africans occupied during this time period. So anyway, so it's kingdoms versus states and churches. So states down the middle, citizens, admixtures, and germane. They couldn't Germanize us, though. And they did Germanize everything else, including some of the 12 tribes. Hence, you have so many types of people. Up here is a gradient, right? North America is a lighter gradient. Central America is light, but it's getting more tan, different features. And you go down to South America, it gets really fucking dark. But at the coast where the trade routes are is where you have all the lightest people. So we know that that phenomenon is a result of a church who brought those type of people to be in the lands of these people to change their color. So we know if anyone's not Moors and copper colored, that they come from the West, whatever the fuck world that is. Your grandma or your ancestors have Slav in them, which is where you get the word slave from. So if there's a bunch of slaves in the middle and they're on islands and they're light-skinned, then the slave has to be the white person. Now, that's talking about the bloodline of things. The bloodline of the story about slaves before your education had to be Slavic. Circassians, look them up in Google Images. Stop fucking playing with me. Suave, French, look them up. They have fezzes on. Stop playing with me. These are citizens in someone's fucking church army with a belief system. Any the fuck way niggas minding their business. They didn't have to be in any particular belief system, nigga. They're in their land because this shit already happened. Holy Roman Emperor, nigga. That's only angels. They got churches and religions and beliefs. Yeah, but when you take the slaves of these and the slaves of these and you meet in the middle, you get connotative linguistics. that kind of suits everybody's narrative and where they come from, what their grandma say, but it's heavily leaning towards the white version. That's a numbers game. It's more white people in the Western culture. Thus, the narrative will always lean their way because of obviously mathematics. And that's how they started. But now they, in that group, in that zeitgeist, in those religions, and those beliefs, and those worldviews, is now the smallest population. So now there's a change happening with citizens, but it's the mixation of them. So the mix is getting darker and pushing more of the white out in terms of representation. You can call it Hispanic or Latino and all these other words and Moorish Latin. Yeah. Moriscos. But obviously a recent batch, since they didn't come from a kingdom this time. So it's not a holy batch of bloodlines, or they would be blood type O and HB. So, nah, homie. So the thing that's changing the citizenry, that is taking out the Germanization of whatever the white Slavic caucus is, they're still in charge because the new mixes are still not Moors quite. They're just taking some other mixes that have been isolated down south away from up north whites. They're washing the whites out that they charge the church and hate narratives that really fucked us up. Now they're canceling them out and bringing up their other citizens from this part of the gradient at the bottom left corner. And now they're bringing them more to the center on a citizen level. So as long as you still have citizens and populations and everything that's not Moors in America, we still dealing with United States Unum Sanctum church bullshit. This is not compatible because of that right there. Holy. An emperor denotes kingdoms. For my Father, thou art in heaven, holy be thy name. Thou kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as is in heaven. By a person from this batch of people who wrote it, from a person of this batch of people speaking this language, from a person of people practicing this fucking magic, and from all the goddamn math and algebra that's all in their goddamn languages. So what the fuck are we talking about? Church. But there's supposed to be a separation between church and states. What is your nation? In the meantime, we're in the middle of the line talking about some citizenship. It don't get deeper than that. None of that's a contradiction either. Since 80 to 90% of their prophets are Israelites. Same story. I guess it's just a different of location since one of them are traveling. One from America and one from Africa. Can you fucking imagine if they were sucking and fucking for hundreds of years? Yeah, okay. Anyway. 12 kingdoms was one empire. I understand everything. Anyway, but then church, you start, signing up other people. Other admixtures. Germain. I'm German because I'm Germain too on that side, right? 12 tribes, Heinz 57, Germain mixes. But we're not Germain mixins with Slavics and Caucasians. We're Germain mixins just like fucking Israel. The fuck wrong with these people? We're the Holy Roman Empire of German mixes. So if we're Germanizing Israel, nigga. So King James is a Germanization of all 12 tribes in the angel bloodline. Hence, we finished this already by 1611. Thank you for joining my TED Talk. That's why we got a hyphen in our shit. That Afro does not mean African. You see that AFRI? That's an AFRO. That vowel is a different in pedigree. Hence, Tartaria. The little ones, though. All of this is men and admixtures. I want to tell you one more thing. When you zoom out just a little bit more, this whole page right here is just man. Nobody on this bitch made anything. Thank you for joining my TED Talk. Why do you think we be getting our ass kicked? It's our man vessel. It's our mankind. It's our tribes. We trying to get man right. Man did not create man, though. Man did not create language. So man did not create the science. And man did not create the algebra. Angels did. Empire. Angel kids. That's the difference. Israel, Jerusalem. Now, all that shifted based on names and maps and politics, I guess, since they're making everything up, but I can imagine it loses its flavor. But over generations of time, the point of the angels is just to have the genetics out here, spread out anyway. Why? Angels use these vessels. Hebrews 13, L. Don't miss it. In Hebrews 13, don't miss that. Be careful who you entertain, for you may be entertaining angels. Angels use these vessels. They consume these vessels. They're not eating them. That, see, the polarity, bipolar disorder they have and all their understanding of our shit, yeah, let them keep their Talmud in. No, we consume. The flame consumes the vessel. Old blood, old wine, and new wineskins. That's reincarnation. You know the whole book about it? So keep your vessel, Deuteronomy, Leviticus. The light. Now you go to our pictures. Now you gotta take our pictures and put it next to the story. They put our pictures in that story. They put white people and ideas and Catholic ideas in the pictures, but go back to our pictures with our story. And when you do that correctly, the people they reverence, you're gonna notice they have a sun behind their head. Even in a regular picture where there's 100 of them, you're gonna see some with afros, and you're gonna see some with afros with suns behind their head. Multiple. One God, one Jesus. They don't understand anything. Those are angels. If they have that disc, they're an angel. The fucked up hairline, the robes and everything. That's how you know in the painting of the Moorish timeline, the Dark Ages. Tartaria, Vladimir Putin, real nigga, because he's the one that showed everybody. A Slav, he's Slavic, told the world, hold on, let's stop the press real quick, let's stop the cap real quick. The Jews, the Judeans, nah, these are the pictures that we got from their castles. These are tall black guys with afros. But more importantly, you see all this flying shit? More importantly, you see the halos? You see the halos? You see the halos, Weiss? You see the halos? You see the halos, Weiss? You see the halos? Awakening of an angel in one of these vessels to be born again. For you are my brothers and sisters, Jehovah's Witnesses. I think Jesus is Michael. Thank you. Now you understand why Jesus is the King of Kings. Because Michael was the King of Angels. Law of correspondence. Three, 3, 3, 3, 3. Whoa, one more time. Real spit 3, Mr. Rizla. Yeah, so that's what be pissing me off. I don't be pissed off about the human things. I don't even be talking about the humans about this. I just want everyone to get it for themselves. What your grandmother say. You know? It's not a command to do something or hurt yourself. It's to like figure out if you're an angel or not. Okay. Yeah, you can't have us out there talking willy-nilly using connotative linguistics. Of course we sound crazy. They don't have the language model. They don't have the reference files. They're missing DLLs. They hear the word, but they're not hearing it. If I argue with a so-called African American, it's like, we're not black people. Yeah, we are. Nah, hold on, sis. Black is an adjective. You know what I mean? Connotative linguistics. I do, which is why I know we're not black people. Now, I have a reference point. So if you want to talk about like who we are collectively related, you can do bloodline things and go, at the very least, pedigree wise, the archetype of why the skin turns this and the eyes do that and the hair does that. That's a pedigree. The pedigree is Moorish, mixed Moors from all over the world. 400 years more since the bullshit, right? And then you have people mixed in with Moorish. That's some brand new shit. 1880s and later. These are all new kids. So, in human history. So, boom, 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 boom. More shit. Moorish. Cool. Then you have people who didn't take those genes, who didn't mix, who are xenophobic, all the different variations. And newcomers. Like, even if some of them mixed in, the majority of their nativity is everyone else from their base stock. That's a different pedigree. You can say Caucasian, I guess. Whatever. You got the Asians, the Asiatics. They have a certain gene set, and it expresses in their different mixes currently for the past 400 years. But we know as of 1751, they were tawny. So they weren't pale yet. So 200, 300 more years. You have what you have over there. But they're not all paled. A lot of them are as dark as me still. Pedigree, not skin colors. You can get skin colors from a pedigree through incest, diet, or what they've been doing, genetic experimenting. But if you're genetic experimenting in a nation where all this ain't pedigree, then your genetic experiment or chimera will always be a variation of the same thing. Whereas if you get all these nations together on some Olympics or missing people thing and missing fetuses and all this to get you to kill your children of the new mixes so they can get their enzymes and bloods for products and also research, if that's alleged in some reality with science and big pharma behind it and all that shit ends up as junk in your food and in your mRNA shots. But if, you know, in real life, if that ever happened, because I'm talking about video games, I guess, when you start fucking with that shit, you get a whole different thing happening. It's not just about fairness of skin color no more, which is, if you're doing genetic tampering, even on a social engineering level, you want to make people paler if the sun is changing and the climate is changing, because you're just going to say you have a whole working class of people with skin cancers. So the people who get skin cancers, what are these assholes doing? Fuck up the environment, blocking out the sun and shit instead. Instead of fixing their genetics, instead of mixing in, instead of becoming natives of the new nation they're in, they say, no, we want to stand our ground. And then the people they pissed off in the meantime pull some evil shit like that off in someone else's house. That's the economics and the business and the social chaos. The narrative of why did that. If this falls apart, it's going to be the narrative of why did y'all do that then? If they're supposed to be the richest and smartest, then why did you lose it then? You see, we can be uniquely only talking about people who control the narrative of the top of the citizen social pyramid, which is, let's stop fucking playing, white men, right? But usually propped up by white women, unless they're not. Enter black women, European, African ones. That's who took over last time. I know they did. So, but even if it does not, again, it's not about their color. Now for them, they're a mixed tribe again, in a corporation wise, in a boardroom, in a circle, in a round table. It ain't about blood no more. It's about controlling and manipulating what they had access to uniquely to themselves. So you would have to have Moors involved, Asians involved, mafia involved from the Roman Catholic timeline. Like you'd have to, oh, weird issues back then, 1950s, new people, boom, right before 2050. Same story. The only that can be throwing new people at you is the church or the military, though. They're the ones. The military has to let them in, and then the church is the people who's in charge of the vessels, the blood, the experiment itself. People ain't fucking paying attention to nothing. It's fucked up what they did. These are human experiments. All of it. All of it. All of it is an experiment. That's why the question is, who's the experimenter? Who's science? Who's behind it? Who's funding it? Who's a patriot? Metal Gear Solid? Like, at that level. Fucking Ocelot. Big boss in them. They don't want me to have nothing, boy. I hope it ain't Bluetooth doing that. Can you see me now? Call me now, Miss Cleo. Oh shit, they said do a sticker. We back. Where did it freeze me at? What topic? What's the subtopic? Because I figured out why I drew that board. Shout out to Terran Art, shout out to Root, shout out to Mr. Now Squad. JPX, we in the building. I figured it out now. I figured out who's attacking, or I figured out what's threatened. Three, JPX. So, in this demonstration itself, though, this line right here of citizens and pedigrees, on the white side of things, in terms of the control mechanism of citizens, like voting and stuff, mob rule, well, in a democracy, the mob will always be the church, or all products, mixtures of all of it. They'll always win democracy. So it's never going to be fair to black people in this box of voting for democracy. Democracy only exists if you're not part of a republic, which these people are because it's theirs. This thing only exists if these people don't honor their nationalities, like dropping down to here, copper, brown, nationals, and whatever lands were associated with before a certain time, of course. But you still have hereditament to it. None of them can take that from you. But you agree to ignore it while you're playing in this box. That's been the last year since Reconstruction period, Civil War till now. These people fighting for memberships on this side. As citizens, right? Dred Scott's. Well, Scott means he was Scottish, so he was on the kingdom side. The Tartar clans, the Picts and the Dubs of the Scotland. Yeah, he's a black guy. I know. Okay. So the separation between the churches, states, and the kingdoms. The church hypothecated the states from these kingdoms. These are the people who created kingdoms, so the church stole it from these people. Now these citizens, with a gradient of these people, joined these churches. Indoctrinations, dogmas, Protestants, Lutherans, all these things are church. Problem is, that book is from a kingdom. That's why it's a bloodline thing. Afro-Asiatic. Quran, Arabics, Orientalis. It's a bloodline thing. So today, many years later, both of those books are ours because we're both of those books people. Plus so many other numbers. You know how we are about bitches, but under an empire, kingdom. But the empire really represents blood, not castles, not cars, not really technology, although we would have all of that. But it's not because, oh, they're special because he got voted. I mean, that's for these, that's this game. No, this is a bloodline thing. So although the castles may be hypothecated and thrown over to these guys as they occupy them, yes, a lot of those buildings they have is just the shit that your granddaddy built. That's why your granddaddy built it, not because he was a slave to a slave. Not because he was Jermaine. No. It's because you were mixed tribes of Israel already. Like, cut it out. So what's being attacked right now on the citizen side of world politics of the West is the West Bank is under attack. Europe is under attack. The bloodline of the people from the Slavic and Caucasus Mountains is being under attack by mRNA. The admixtures thereof, because people hop on these lines at least since the fucking 1900s. They're kind of German now. German plus something else. Yeah, quite literally. Everyone in the gradient in between these. That is what's under attack. This side attacked these people. But today in 2025, as you shift the steer of the boat, that separation between church and state, well, these people just voted for no kings, aka they vote no kingdoms. If you have no kings, you have no kingdoms. You have no kingdoms, then these are the bloodline of the kingdoms. So the reason why so many white people are out funded by Soros is because they're saying no to who? But they'll say Donald Trump. Well, you know, Donald Trump is germane. He's an admixture. So it's okay for them to be against a guy that's literally dead center. He is the product of all of this. Donald Trump is the citizen of all citizens. Don't forget that. From genetics. Elon Musk was coming from a different dimension trying to cross over, and they wouldn't let him. No kingdoms. He said he was listening to a podcast about Genghis Khan. Oh, he was thinking about kingdoms then, wasn't he? Yeah, that's under attack. Because that's who has the central bank. That's under attack. Because that's what has all the intelligence agencies. That's under attack. Because that is the occupying military. That's under attack. Because that was the Mamelukes and eunuchs armies that came here in the 1700s. That's under attack. That's under attack. That's under attack. And they separated already. They told you that. So, that's the problem. As above, so below. It just keeps, it's like sand, you know. Yeah, they stirred the ship this way. Well, now the recoil algorithm comes back. And that's why they're looping a revolution, blah, blah, blah. But it's all of that, but on this side, within themselves, currently in 2025. The state and the church is fighting their bank. But now there's another thing here. And the other thing says we're not germane, we're Jewish. They're saying that they're closer to us, which is the irony of it. So the Jewish citizens would be heavier in this gradient, references and everything. They're going against the hegemony of the church state. The Jewish has been funding all the citizens. They're funding both sides of the wars because the Jewish is the central bank. So if everything that the Jewish, Epstein, Mossad, and Israel and all that's been doing to cause them to drain all their pockets, what do you think side they're on? Double agents, triple agents. You ain't paying attention to crypto or anything. I know that's right. Don't matter what side the Jewish Israeli is on. Everything he is doing is going against the church state. Zionism, I guess. All right, well, all they doing in that West Bank is causing Zion's kids to come back on the map. So stay woke out here. That's like using math in the universal law at the same time. So you can understand what's going on at all times, just by them invoking words. The words mean something already. So when people talk, they're referencing a language model. So as long as you know the language model, you know what dimensions to put those words in, you know what they're really talking about. Even if their brain doesn't have all the, they're using those words to talk about that. Like, okay, politics, geography, dollars, money, banks. Okay. So what do those words mean in those subjects? And it's usually back, further back in time. And all right, so who were the people in the subjects of that time? Since this subject that we're talking about is using words from that time, then we're talking about the subject of that time. Still, yeah, colonization. It hasn't changed. Just the rules for citizens have. Nothing to do about it. We cool, all of us citizens. We're fine. We're just going through Stockholm syndrome, both sides. That's all. They hope if you figure out that you'll clash and kill each other and wig out. I get it. Oldest trick in the book. What I'm concerned about is my white citizens, though. I don't think this shit is cool. I can't judge anything that they do if I stand by and let them do that to them either. Mm-mm. They ain't our kingdom. We would never, we would never abandon anyone. Actually, why would we? We're the kings of kings' sons. That's shit. For God so loved the whole world, he be sending his only begotten sons down. One at a time. Emperors. Mhm. If we show up, it's to save the world. I don't know how or which way that happens, but that's how they'll write the history. At this moment, we'll change the world and save it. Multidimensional. I know. Shit weird. We're changing the world. It's changing. So we're changing the world. It's changing. We're changing. So the world is changing. Law of correspondence. As within, so without. If you change what's inside the mind and the thoughts and the vibrations, it corresponds to nature, then nature changes. We got fucking butterflies in October, nigga. Say what? That's because the people are changing. Climate change. I already told you, it's mental. That's that CIA shit, man. Code words and stuff. They're talking about dualistic, like they say, they speak in like a split tongue. That's just two dimensions, nigga. Our language is based on algebra. Fuck, that's an Egyptian concept, just like crypto is. So you understand? They keep referencing our older crates. They're sampling the 40s for soul records. Like that's where they're at with it. So no. You ain't going nowhere, buddy. You know how I know they ain't going nowhere with that? Because that was ours, and we ended up like this. That blueprint that they're referencing is ours. They made some modifications. That blueprint, which was ours, we ended up like this. So where are they going to end up? They can barely follow the imprint. They can barely follow the blueprint they stole. But I need to mention that's our blueprint, kinda in that dimension. And no matter what happened to us, we ended up here. That's why I don't want no one to miss. We had kingdoms and empires. Clear, clear. Yes, we did. And even with all that magic and all that technology and all the books and everything that they took, something came and took it from us. Still following those rules. I just need you to understand everything. At the peak of whatever they can find and still and burn down and recover, it seems, from us, they're trying to scramble and find it and fix their problems with it. And I'm saying is, yo, they skipping us. Yo, bro, calm down. We did this already. And we ended up in captivity with yo ass. And whoever's funding it, that's who I need to find. But in the meantime, on X-Men, no, y'all not getting out of this. Whatever it is. I don't know what the fuck it is. That's not how you're gonna get out of it. You're not gonna get out of it by going back to religions. You ain't gonna try and go back to the Bible. That's different than turning your life around to God if you're one of his. But that ain't what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about beliefs and thought spaces. I'm talking about like in reality. The game that they're playing, civilizations. No. We created that game and we ended up citizens. So do the science. We ended up citizens through a series of betrayals, untimely natural resets, and fucking attacks from everybody, it seems. So yeah, imagine if all the weapons were formed against you. So yeah. If you're following our blueprint, you're heading to the storyline where all the weapons are formed against you. Yes. You don't escape that. That is not a man concept. That's a biblical concept, meaning it's a higher dimensional equation. We're not going against flesh and blood. We're talking about spirit and principality, thought and space. So no. All this shit is mindset. Poverty, mindset. Kingdom, mindset. Citizen, mindset. Fed, mindset. It's the kingdom of mindsets. So the reset will be in people's mindset, and then that would affect the environment. Since we are the operant powers of the environment these vessels were created for. Quantum entangled, quite literally, since you're made out of the environment. Thus, we are fractals of the environment itself. Tough. Yeah, Europeans. Products of the moon, Europa. So if you're European, because you're Europa, that means you're quantum entangled to the environment. If for some fucking reason, somehow, I don't know the science, you end up on Europa and you're still not quantum entangled to the planet because you're not the ingredients there of it enough, especially where it counts in the crystals in your blood from Titans, the moon itself, then you're not going to have no control over it, even if you did get your thoughts right. You'll have control over your wave, your heart, your torsion field, your aura. That works too. I'm talking about the environment. Thought space too. Yeah, democracy and mob rule don't work if you lose your connection to the environment. Who has a connection to the environment? The natives, which the natives have, their nationalities. That's a different mindset. Yep. Hmm? That's what's wrong with us individually, like humans. Like they have different mindsets based on where they find themselves in a artificial environment, within a real environment, and then the spiritual environment, cooked, fucking cooked. They're battling their own thoughts, their depressions, their setbacks, their expectations. All of that is just thought space. That's a war. It's a spiritual warfare though. That's why this one's weird. Civil wars with humans. Revolutions is with kingdoms versus their people that they have working for them. This is spiritual warfare, but I'm not talking about good versus evil. I'm talking about within the thought space itself. People are going through spiritual warfare right now. I know so because I know black magic. I know what it causes. Mm. So when people introduced black magic to dancery, I had to go through that being a target. It's always along the lines of what I'll be studying. I hate this story, but as I'm studying it and listening to Panic and Bobby Hemmett and all the ebooks and other shit that I've been had and been studying, shout out to Jordan Maxwell, because I was aware of it, and then our community where it comes from, you hear the such and such the witch, jars and blah blah blah. Like, curious, who's gonna talk about it? Nobody, baby. So I started reading about it, maybe, and then I got to the source of these things, and it goes, oh, that's how that power works. You're transferring telepathic. Can you imagine? You're transferring bad vibes, juju, onto other people. The physical process is symbolic, like a ritual, sigils. You're summoning spirits, thoughts, emotions, energy, vibrations, frequencies, and then you're targeting an individual. What does that do to them? It lowers their vibration, aka it lowers their force field, aura. So if you fracture their aura, or if you ever watch people fight, Shaolin style shit. If you notice that when they, in the movies at least, it's dramatic, but they do this when they fight for real. When they do this, and they're moving their hand around, and they're moving their energy, and they just stand there, what they did was attack their aura. They're busting their shield first, and then it becomes physical. Martial arts is a spiritual discipline. Yeah, that's why they do that. They're moving prana, they're moving energy, and then they're Hadouken, and it breaks your shield. So that's the same thing with anything else, especially black magic, because it's just a horizontal discipline of the same principle mathematically. So black magic targets people, hence the gang stalking, hence the rumors, hence the betrayals, to weaken you. What happens then? Then you start attacking yourself. Fear, paranoia, self-worth, doubt, especially if you're in a betrayal loop. You're like, why would they do that to me? Blah, 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 blah. And then the ritualistic abuse begins. But it only works if they can lower your guard. If they can break your if they can break your field. That's why people go counter it. Stay prayed up. What does that mean mathematically? Raise your vibration. Fear not. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Don't fight fire with fire. Don't even fucking waste your time if you can get your vibration right. Because then it backfires. Because the shield is back up, right? Return to sender. Mm-hmm. Yup, that only works if your shield is up, though. Depending on how fucking much energy they sent at you, it might take you some time. Hence. So, yeah. Shogunite and crystals on the defense. Like, hence. Plus all the things you can't see in between us that may or may not respond to such shenanigans. Jinn and shit. Yeah, it can happen. Especially if these other people are doing sacrifices specifically to such things. Everybody else is playing with quantum entanglement. That's why there's so much of it interdependently. Because the effect is more profound against your own bloodline. People already have a predisposition to such things. In the belief itself. In the fear itself. Mm-hmm. Yup. Black on black crime. Hate to say it. But yeah, most of the time. So, why don't they just use their magic and stop the colonization of the white man? Check their bank accounts. The answers be so simple if you follow the money. The reason why those people who tend to have those degrees have the most money is because they use those degrees to take everything else from me. Why would they help me? Or anyone else related? Nations, nationals, natives. Yep. But if I do it, there's a problem. Oh no. Houston, I do it anyway, just by reading my Bible. Hence, on Aaron, on David, on Solomon. We don't gotta do all that extra shit if we go to the source itself, which is the point of why that book tells you your vain imagination, your idols, your rocks, your stones, your sigils, like, the fuck are you doing? Solomon had a ring, I guess, but shit, like, he didn't need it. He was teaching math or something. He's explaining his thought space. Same story. So yeah, it's weird out here. Be careful with these fucking crazy people, because they cashed all this karma credit-wise. And I'm talking about the people who started practicing black magic for some fucking goofy-ass reason. No thanks to Brother Panic and them in YouTube, but there's a credit, there's a spiritual credit you must pay as well. That's the karma, though. It's karma no matter what, but I'm talking about the exchange of energy. But when you start borrowing black, dark, how do I say it? When you start tapping into spiritual bank accounts, and you're not using the Most High and the rules and things, you know, it's black, underground. You don't know what those sources are. And that's why it's equivalent to selling your soul, because the wages of such is usually death, right? Blood sacrifice, things like that. If you ever watch Death Note, Death Note, it's the same story. He used a lot of those pages in a short time. He caused the death of a lot of people in a short time. He was accruing a spiritual debt. And when he finally dies at the end of it, it's only because his Shinigami, his Jinn, was like, I'm tired of this shit. It's not whether or not the practitioner gets tired. It's up to the Jinn, the placeholder for the other thing, whatever it is. There seems to be plenty kinds, but I'm just saying, it's not local. And a lot of people who take it to that highest level, they do a lot of shit to get in touch with it. A lot of that shit ain't working right now. Tough. You must owe somebody some fucking money. A lot of people got rich suddenly. A lot of it's witchcraft. Your celebrities, witchcraft. Hmm. Yeah. Cardi B, all of them. Those are witches. Summer Walker. Hmm. They got their deals and they don't have no talent largely because of witchcraft. The rituals that they used to do for money. Hmm? It's easy. Law of correspondence, manifestation. You ain't got to figure out how to do it. If they did the ritual, that does it, and then it happens. What we saw is how it happened. I'm saying it happened for them because they're practicing witchcraft. That's all I'm saying. Now, let's add up the costs. Cardi B. Cool story. She has a picture in her old apartment with an altar behind her. It's a food altar, Dominican, Puerto Rican, Islander. So they do food offerings. That's in the Bible on Israel, since it's right there.